It's a beautiful day out there. Time to explore. Whenever we go boondocking, I'm in charge of trying to figure out some hiking trails, and Melody is always in charge of finding area attractions, things to do in the area besides hiking. Well, we recently took a trip to the Gila Wilderness in New Mexico, and Melody, doing her research, found a ghost town called Steins right across the border into New Mexico. It was on our way, so hey, let's stop and check it out. And it actually turned out to be a very interesting story, which I'd like to share with everyone, so hope you enjoy the video. As you travel through the Southwest, you'll have no lack of opportunity to find ghost towns. They just seem to be all over the place. And the history of the vast majority of ghost towns in the area is tied with mining. They were company towns. Someone would find silver, somebody find gold, copper, tin, and then miners would come in, the town would be built up, then the mine would get played out, and everybody leaves the town because there's no other work besides something tied to the mine. There may be a grocery store, but the miners shop there, the miners leave, grocery store closed. If you're taking I-10 from Arizona into New Mexico, the first exit is for a town called Steins. Now, there is no town of Steins anymore, officially. It's now a ghost town. But unlike the vast majority of ghost towns in the area, Steins wasn't tied to a mine, but it was a railroad town. The tale of Steins begins around the year 1856. Major Enoch Steins, he was exploring the area of the Gadsden Purchase, and he camped at a pass in the Pelocillo Mountains near the current town. Major Stevens was a commander at Fort Webster and successfully negotiated peaceful treaties with Magnus Colorado and Victorio in 1853 and with Cochise in 1856 to allow settlers to cross their land while traveling to California. The pass where he camped in 1856 was later named Steins Pass, and the Butterfield Overland Mail Route in 1858 christened their stop here as Steins Peak Station. The ruins of this stage stop can still be seen somewhat northwest of the town. The peace that Major Steen had negotiated did not last, as the immigrants, perhaps through ignorance or fear, violated its terms and attacked and killed members of the Apache Nation. Needless to say, the tribal leaders became doubtful that the terms of the treaties would ever be honored, and in May 1863, observing a group of soldiers entering the canyon, and they planned an attack. The skirmish lasted around an hour and is known today as the Skirmish in Doubtful Canyon. In fact, the canyon today is still named Doubtful Canyon. Over time, the name of the town south of the stage stop was shortened and simply became Steins. Springing to life in 1878 when the Southern Pacific Railroad established a train stop here, and a few years later a stone quarry was opened nearby to the east of the town. A rock crushing operation also took place in town around 1909 it started. By 1920, the town was booming. It was filled with railroad workers and laborers for the operations at the stone quarry. As years passed, the town reached a population of nearly 1,000 residents and boasted a grocery store, meat market, hotel, 2 saloons, dance hall, constable and justice of the peace, and, as not unusual, a bordello. The quarry closed in 1925, and by the 1930 census, only 18 homes were occupied in Steins. In January 1944, the post office relocated, and the big change was in 1945. The Southern Pacific Railroad discontinued using steam engines and went to the diesel electric. And with the diesel electric instead of steam, you do not need all these rail stops along the route where the workers would pump the water, pack new fuel for the train and everything. You simply did not need the workers anymore. Then with those lower maintenance requirements, rail workers disappeared. And by the 1950 census, there was only 8 families remaining in the town of Steins, in addition to 3 vacant homes. And a fire in 1964 would destroy many of these deserted homes. Numerous people over the years have tried to preserve the town. In 1975, a gentleman by the name of Walter Garrison, originally a carpenter hailing from Georgia, purchased the remainder of the entire town, including all buildings and 7.5 acres of land, for $7,500. He worked in a nearby town called Shakespeare, saving funds that he wanted to use to restore the town. At some point, he must have given up, and in 1981, the entire town of Stein was offered for sale for $20,000 by the Jack Morgan Real Estate Agency in Lordsburg, but it received no offers. Just imagine buying the whole town for $20,000. Garrison then started to reconstruct the homes of the small Hispanic community, which was south of Front Street, taking up residence in one of the restored homes. However, he did not retain much of the remainder of these homes, but reconstructing them to resemble their original form. By early 1984, he completed work on the feed store, began planning work on the blacksmith shop. Though there were no indications that he officially opened the town to the general public, he stated in a June 1986 interview with the Albuquerque Journal that he offered tours for $2 per person to folks who stopped by the town. In the same interview, he also claimed to allow homeless folks to stay in some of the rebuilt houses in exchange for labor. Good plan. In October of 1986, the town experienced one of the first major problems. Trucks that were carrying produce had been refused entry into Arizona at the San Simeon inspection station and were sent back across the New Mexico border. The truckers then cleared out their loads near Steins, and apparently some passengers on those trucks were fire ants who there was an infestation of them in the town. The town was fumigated with the chemical Dursden to eliminate the fire ant colonies. And I guess with all the struggles, expenses, Mr. Garrison abandoned the idea of continuing to restore the town and offered it for sale. Then in 1988, Larry and Linda Link purchased the town of Steins with the dream that this town was something that should be preserved for future generations to enjoy. Larry first prepared one of the upper floors of a home to be a suitable residence for he and his wife so that they could live in town. Then the couple moved from Phoenix to the town. He worked earnestly to restore the buildings. Even their children and grandchildren would arrive on weekends to help make their dreams come true. Early on, Larry noted the fumigation service that was being conducted near town and worked for some time for that company that was doing the fumigation to gain funds to use for the town's restoration. When the owners of this business died, Larry took over the fumigation business. You can still see trailer at the town with the large lettering fumigation on the property. And then shortly after the Links arrived, they began renovations on the blacksmith shop, bordello, the mercantile, and other repairs throughout the town. As they cleaned up the area, people started stopping by and started sharing their stories, history, and documents, their pictures of the towns with the Links. These people included over 100 individuals that once lived where the town now stands. The Links opened the town up to the general public in the early 1990s and operated it full-time through 2008 when the economy got rough. The 10 buildings had 16 rooms filled to the brim with authentic artifacts and furniture. They added a little gift shop where visitors could purchase sodas, picnic supplies, souvenirs. Larry and Linda were determined to keep this treasure open and continue to welcome visitors and give tours on a part-time basis until 2011, when a tragedy happened. Steins over the years had seen their share of violence. Thomas Blackjack Ketchum committed train robberies twice in the town, the first in 1892 and again in 1897. On the 10th of January 1918, an intoxicated Doc Catlin went to the home of Manuel Lopez, attempted entry, and slapped Lopez's wife, whereupon Mr. Lopez shot Catlin 5 times, giving himself immediately up to the constable Oscar Allen. None of the acts of violence would prepare the world for what would happen on June 7, 2011. It was a Tuesday, the morning of June 7th, and Larry awoke around 6 a.m. hearing sounds outside the home, and so he decided to get up to investigate. He didn't return to the house. His son that same morning was walking around, went outside to have his first cigarette of the day. To his horror, he discovered his father, Larry, deceased, laying near a truck. He was shot 5 times with multiple facial injuries and much bloodied. About 100 feet away from his body, a storage trailer had items belonging inside it strewn outside the grounds and graffiti marks inside the trailer. Investigators called to the scene suspected a burglary was attempted. Just as in the 1800s, when public opinion attributed every violence to nearby Apaches, media continued to cite illegal immigrants as the culprits in his murder. This was, of course, frustrating to the family, as there was no evidence then or prior that would lead to this speculation, and the continuation of that reporting hampered folks from perhaps coming forward with actual facts regarding the case. At the time of making this video, in 2023, it's been 12 years since this kind and giving man was gunned down outside his home. The family has closed the town of Steins to the public as the heartbreak of their loved one's murder remained unsolved. I know there's a slight chance, but I'll give you a contact number for the New Mexico State Police below. If you have anything, any information, any evidence that you care to share. Every time I go to a ghost town, there's a song by Three Dog Night called The Family of Man. And it starts out, "This tired city was somebody's dream." I always feel a little melancholy at ghost towns because that was somebody's dream. Lives were spent there, children born, raised, families, marriages, working. It was an entire community. And now there hardly nothing remains to show the work of all these people. So, but glad we stopped by. Hope you enjoyed the video. Needless to say, I'll leave directions everywhere. And if you did enjoy it, please think about subscribing to the channel. Hit the like button. Give a comment, notification bell, all the stuff I say at the end of a video. And have yourself a blessed day.